For the compatibility testing also, you can either include these parts in the general test plan or your first test plan, or else you can create a separate test plan for compatibility testing. It was working fine for me when I do the testing on my laptop. We can't say like that. So in that case, we can't deliver our devices for them. So we need to make sure that this will work perfectly on their device. So that's why compatibility testing is important. Hello my dear friends, welcome back to QV Bro. So another month, we are back with another playlist, a fresh playlist we are starting from today. So I know you already have seen the short video. So yeah, today we are going to start the new playlist related to the compatibility testing. I will explain what compatibility testing is and the rest in the coming few minutes, and then we can continue the next videos for the next weeks as well, maybe discussing about some tools which we can use for compatibility testing. Don't worry, I will cover everything which we did for the GitHub and the foundation level videos as well. So yeah, before coming into the compatibility testing or about the tools, like you need to know like what compatibility testing is or like why it is needed and those stuff. So today in this video I will cover all those areas, covering like some definitions, then like why compatibility testing is needed, and those background information we can discuss today. So having those background information and these basics in your mind, then we can move forward to the advanced parts and to also to discuss about the tools as well. So yeah, when talking about the compatibility testing, before this you need to have covered the basics or the basic knowledge about the quality engineering, so you can follow our first playlist if you haven't done. So this will be like the next part in our QV journey, because first we do this test planning and everything, and then we do the functional testing and for any automation. After that we can start with our compatibility testing. However, these things you need to plan at first when you do your test planning. If you haven't watched the video related to test plan, please watch. There also I have discussed about these things, how you can clearly plan everything for your testing, the test plan. For the compatibility testing also, you can either include these parts in the general test plan or your first test plan, or else you can create a separate test plan for compatibility testing. It is up to you, or for your organization, based on your process you can decide whether you will go with your general test plan or a separate test plan for compatibility testing. Also, very important thing is like you need to plan this at very early, because at the end you might not find time to do these things. Otherwise, like when you do functional testing and automation, then you will find bugs. So then at that time there will be multiple cycles which we cannot plan beforehand, because we don't know how many bugs will be identified from testing and how much time you guys need to fix and retest those things. So at that time it is hard to find time due to these hard deadlines. So in that case it is always good to plan those things early, so then you need to have some time for compatibility testing as well, and also you need to find these tools and to handle all those requirements and to have these things in place. You need to find some time, so plan early, so then you can execute it correctly. So here I included the definition extracted from the Wikipedia to start with, but I'm not going to discuss about this now. So we can talk about the next few slides, and after that, once you get the full idea about what compatibility testing is, then we can come and check this particular definition, and then you can realize whether it's correct or not. But I hope I will not forget at the end to again come back to this slide. Yeah, let's hope so. However, as you know, compatibility testing is categorized under non-functional testing. We have discussed this under types of testing videos. So yeah, mainly we can categorize as functional testing and non-functional testing. Functional testing is like where we check for the functional features, whether software is working correctly based on the functional requirements or not. Then we have the other non-functional testing like the performance, security, accessibility testing. So under that we can place the compatibility testing. So under compatibility testing, what we will test is like whether our software or whether our application will work in the same way in different scenarios. The scenarios means here like under different operating systems, under different browsers, different devices, different network speeds like that. So let's say for example, my testing was done, my functional testing was done on a Windows machine on a Google Chrome browser with 4G network speed. For that particular combination, the application is working very fine. The network speed, those things will matter mainly for these mobile applications. However, let's say for that particular combination, all the things working fine, like all the styles were there correctly, the size of the text and the buttons, the placements, the page, everything is working fine. But we can't make sure that all our customers are using Windows and the Google Chrome combination, because there are so many other combinations, like there are different operating systems, there are different devices, there are different other browsers as well. So first we need to do a survey, and then we need to identify like, okay, what are the combinations our customers are using. Then based on that, we can plan our testing. But for some applications, we can do like that. Let's say if our customer base is very small, and for example, if we are developing a tailor-made software for a particular organization, then we know, or else, and in that case, we can explicitly ask our customers to use this. This will work only on these particular browsers, these particular operating systems. Yeah. In these tailor-made situations, we can say our customers to strict only to these particular combinations of operating systems or devices. But in a large-scale application, or where we go public, for example, like the Facebook or Google application. So in these scenarios, we can't ask our customers to do so because it's a worldwide. We can't exactly say like what combination of device, operating system, or browsers our customers will use. So in that case, we need to make sure this works correctly throughout all these combinations. Yeah, it's very hard. I know, like now you guys think like, what is this guy is telling? Like we don't have enough time to test this, to test our application even in one combination of OS or Chrome, OS browser combination, not even in a single combination. Not enough time to complete whole test it due to these all deadlines and these things. But now this guy is saying like we need to test our application in different combinations as well, different operating systems, browsers. So in that case, like just imagine like how many combinations. For example, if we take only OS and browser, so in Windows you can test on Windows Chrome, Windows Firefox, Windows Internet Explorer. Then if you go to a Linux based system, again Linux Chrome, Linux Firefox. Then if you come to Mac operating system, Mac Safari, Mac Chrome, likewise. So they are also like only the main combinations. There are also, you can see 7-8 combinations are there. So then you need to duplicate your testing on all these combinations environments. So in that case, again need to mention, you don't need to perform all your test cases, because you will do your functional testing and identify all your functional issues, and then those things are fixed. After that, after those things are retested, you come to compatibility testing. While you do the compatibility testing, only thing, the main thing is like you can run the happy flow scenarios, because what you need to do is like you need to just to check whether it behaves in the same way throughout all these combinations, not to run all your functional test cases again. So that is one point you need to remember. So yeah, at that place you can save some time, because you are not going to run all your test cases. Maybe you smoke or some UI related scenarios you can run for the compatibility testing. And again, this is a good candidate for your automation as well, the compatibility test cases. So otherwise you have to run this through all these, the mentioned seven combinations of operating system and browser. So if you have automated these things, maybe at parallelly you can run this via these all 7 combinations if you are using some of the tools which I'm going to explain later. So that is another point you need to highlight. This is a good candidate for your automation. So then that's why again I mentioned you need to plan these things very early at your test planning stage. So at that time, you know, okay, you will do a compatibility testing, then you know what are the operating systems, browsers, and device combinations you will use. Then also, you know, you need to have some automation. Then at test design, you can plan like what are the things you will automate for the compatibility testing as well. And also, if you need any license or anything for the automations to run using these tools, then in that case, you have enough time to buy this license and prepare following the tutorials for the tool and to learn that part is also, if there is enough time for you to cover. So yeah, I hope, so those are the main things which you need to have in your mind before you start your compatibility testing. Then I will talk like why compatibility testing is needed. So I hope you already have some idea, because from your experience also you might have seen, so the particular, let's say one of your applications, it worked on Chrome Windows, but it didn't rendered correctly, or it didn't work in fine on another combination, maybe on Internet Explorer. Here I mentioned some stats taken from the stat counter related to the February 2023 February 2024 period: screen resolutions, the browser market share, the operating system market share, and the mobile vendor market share, those information. I have linked all these things, so you can go and check on their websites as well. For example, if you check the screen resolution stats, for example, here also you can see 1020 to 1080. Most of the people have used that particular screen resolution. So then 300 into 800, likewise there are. So this is the variation people used for the screen resolution as well. So why the screen resolution matters? You know, if you use your web browser, it has enough the width to render. But if you use the same website on a small resolution like this, so in that case the width is shortened. Now everything will all the elements, now if your website is mobile friendly, then those will change their locations, the element will change, right? So it will again had to re-render the website based on the screen resolution, maybe. So in that case the button might get out of focus, so it will be very hard to click on the button, or the button is not clickable, or else some elements might be hidden. Now for example, a title was there on high resolution, now the web is getting changed to match the new screen resolution. Now let's say the particular element is hidden from the other elements, and now you can't see the title. So again, some issues are there. Likewise, there could be some the rendering issues, CSS style issues. Likewise, those things can be there due to different screen resolutions as well. Then if you check on the browser market, you can see the most number of people are using Chrome, then more than 60%, then Safari almost 20%, and Microsoft Edge, Firefox, Opera, likewise. So you can see these are like worldwide counts within this particular one year period. So again, you can see if you take the Chrome, Safari, and Edge, Firefox, and Opera, so there is also 60, 20, 80, 85, like 90%. 90% of people use these 5 browsers. So likewise, you can categorize, and okay, then based on your time, you can decide, okay, so 90% of the world customers use Chrome, Safari, Edge, Firefox, and Opera. So then you can restrict, or you can limit your testing, the compatibility testing up to that point. So maybe most of the time, let's say your functional testing was done on Chrome. So then your compatibility testing you can run only on Safari, Edge, Firefox, and Opera. Still, it will cover like 90% of the world customer. So yeah, at the very beginning, you have to depend on these worldwide stats. But after, like, let's say, after your application goes live and after some period, now you can get stats related to your particular application, like based on your customers. Then you can do you can get some stats like this, and you can do the filtration based on those results, because this is worldwide. Here we have so many browsers, but if you check your application related stats, then maybe let's say Chrome will be using like 80 to 90%, Safari like 10%, likewise let's say Chrome 80, Safari 10, Edge 2, Firefox 3, likewise you can categorize. So then from that you can filter out and get like the most used browsers, at least to cover around 90 to 95%, then it will be good. So yeah, likewise you can decide based on actual stat as well, but at the very beginning either you have to go with this worldwide stat, so you have to make some assumptions. But it's always good to go with this worldwide
stats and to check like at least 4 or 5 the most covered or most used browsers. So at least to have a coverage more than 90%. So this same for the screen resolutions as well. Then if you check on the operating system market, yeah, Android is the most used one, then Windows, then iOS. Likewise, you can categorize. Same for the mobile vendor market as well. I think these things got changed recently, but since, as I mentioned, this is 2023 February to 2024 February period. So Apple, Samsung, Xiaomi, Oppo, likewise you can categorize the mobile vendor market as well. Because if you are working on, let's say, yeah, some websites, most of the time users will go on their mobile browser as well. And also if it is related to a mobile application, then you need to think about the mobile vendor as well. Then again, if it, let's say, come to Apple, then there are again multiple different versions like iPhone 16, then 15, 14. Likewise, you might have to check on at least couple of them as well. Most recent and even at least. Then if it comes to Samsung, there is a huge variation. Likewise, you need to think about those aspects as well. That's why I said you need to plan these things very early. So you need to think about the time. And also when it comes like this mobile and different devices, you might have to have either a device farm. So I will explain later what device farm is. Or then you have to go with a tool. In that case, again, planning early is good because you need to think about the licensing aspects and also about the learning curve of the new tool. Okay, so then here I put some real world examples to explain you more like why compatibility testing is really needed. Here also I have linked all these the articles to the original article, so you can go and read more. So for example, here this was a new release from Apple for compatibility problems on there, some older one. So there was another article related to Apple and Facebook integration. It was back in 2022. So due to an upgrade on Apple operating system, Facebook ad machine was not working. So Facebook ad machine was working with getting some information from the operating system and then to show different users with different ads based on their activities. But due to the Apple's new upgrade, Facebook ad machine wasn't capable of getting this data. So in that case, it didn't work. It says like they lost around $250 billion due to this upgrade. So yeah, so again there is a problem like from whose side this need to be checked, right? Because when Apple was doing the particular upgrade, they also might have checked different available this mostly used applications, kind of integration testing from their side. And also Facebook might have done testing from their side when Apple upgraded their version. So then they have to do compatibility testing on their side as well to check whether the application will work with this new operating system. So yeah, however, it missed from both ends and it cost a lot for the Facebook back in 2022. So that's why compatibility testing is important. So here you can see it's not about $1 or $2. It's the matter about $250 billion. So you can think how much loss Facebook had to bear at that time due to an operating system upgrade. Who thinks? Then again, there's another one back in 2022 on Windows. They released some compatibility fixes for some Windows versions. Then this one also a Knight Capital. They are a trading company. This was very long time back in 2012. They also lose about $140 million overnight due to a software issue. It says it was a compatibility issue with the latest upgrades. So yeah, you can see Knight Capital lose about $440 million overnight due to a compatibility issue. And the Fallout game, if you have played Fallout 76, it also had some compatibility issues. Here is the GitHub, the issue reported on their repo for the compatibility report. And also there is another one back in 2023 related to WhatsApp crash after an update on the Android side. So after Android 14 upgrade, WhatsApp was crashed every time when people go and try to open their application on their phone. So likewise, you can see there are so many real world examples related to compatibility testing. So this WhatsApp case and the Facebook case both were related to operating systems upgrades. So it was not compatible with the latest operating system versions. And then this iOS release and the Windows release were similar compatibility fixes released on the operating systems, maybe due to the browsers and those stuff. And also this compatibility report on a game. And likewise, you can see there are different combinations like operating systems, browsers, applications. Likewise, the compatibility can be vary. I hope now you have a very clear idea, and now you know why compatibility testing is important, because you can see in numbers, Facebook lose about $250 billion and Knight Capital lose about $40 million overnight due to these compatibility issues. People will rarely think about the compatibility aspects, but now you can see when you compare it with numbers, compatibility testing is very important, similar to the functional testing. For example, let's say function is working, but what is the purpose of having the function if your customers can't use it properly in their device or operating system or browser? So even though we put all our efforts and all our money and develop and deploy all these features, but again, it is like no use for the customer, because from their end they can't use, because we can't deliver our computers or devices for our customers and ask them to use there, because we can't say it was working fine for me when I do the testing on my laptop. We can't say like that, because I'm not the person who is actually going to use the website, our application. It's our customers. So in that case, we can't deliver our devices for them. So we need to make sure that this will work perfectly on their device. So that's why compatibility testing is important, similar to the functional testing. So then based on previous examples also, you now have a clear idea like compatibility testing can be categorized under different areas. So here is a list of areas which we can think under compatibility testing. Compatibility testing can be vary based on hardware as well, different devices. Again, like someone might use one computer with, let's say, 128 RAM particular specification. Then someone else might use the same application on a different hardware, different specification. This will mostly matter for these mobile applications, because based on the performance of your device, it might decide like the time to render those stuff as well. So hardware is also a matter under the compatibility testing. Then the operating systems. We discussed about operating systems a lot. I showed some stats as well. Other than that, there could be other third-party software as well. For example, maybe the your antivirus software, or the proxies, or the firewalls. Because from these applications also, sometimes some parts will be blocked, some API calls will be restricted. And also from my experience, I have witnessed that sometimes having these different Chrome plugins also can affect how your application will render or load. I have seen some accessibility or some network related plugins which I have installed on my Chrome browser once affected loading or having some network calls going out on one of our websites. So you need to think about those aspects as well. These third-party plugins and other third-party software like antivirus software, firewalls also might have an effect on your application. So you need to think about those as well. Then network, again, these things mostly used for the mobile application testing, like 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. Different network speeds will also have an impact on your website, the loading times, those things. Then the browser combinations and the different devices like mobile devices, then tablets, mobiles, desktop, then the different screen resolutions all come under the devices. So these are the areas which you need to have a thorough look at when you do the compatibility testing, mainly operating system, browser, and the device. Other than that, you need to think about network speeds, software and hardware combinations as well. Okay, so now you will think like, operating system and browser, we can manage. Let's say, you can have at least a virtual machine with different operating systems. On your Windows machine, you have, so in your Windows computer, you can install all the browsers, that's fine. Then in your Windows machine, you can install a virtual machine. So don't worry, I will do a separate videos later under one of the playlists on these virtual machines and how you can install and use it for your testing purposes as well. So however, you can have a virtual machine and then you can install Linux for the virtual machine, and there you can again put those browsers. Likewise, yeah, with the virtual machine aspects, you can manage operating system and browser combinations. But what are you going to do with devices? Either you need to have actual physical devices, but in that case, how many devices you are going to buy? For example, let's say Apple, then Samsung, then Xiaomi. Let's say those are the, and some Windows devices as well. Then from each you need to have different versions, like from Apple iPhone 14, 15, 16. So I hope now you will get my point, like it will be very costly to have all these devices. But again, if you buy like only one device from each, then again there will be kind of a queue for testing purposes, because if one person is using the Apple iPhone 16, then the other person won't be able to. Okay, but they, let's say they can manage it kind of round robin. Once a person is using iPhone 16, maybe the second person, instead of waiting for the same device, they can use the Samsung device. Likewise, okay, let's say in that aspect also, let's say they manage it, but again it's very costly. Then the maintenance cost is high. Every time when there is a new version or a new device, you have to buy it. Again, it depends on the cost and also maintenance, and then about then all these things you need to think if you are going for a device farm like this. So yeah, so this is an example of a device farm, actual physical device farm. You can see all these devices are plugged in on a server rack, those are installed. So this is example of a device farm. These are mobile devices. Similarly, you might have to have these the tablets and the desktop or laptop devices likewise. Then about the storage spaces, the electricity and everything, network, all these things you need to think. So that's why, and when you do compatibility testing, again you need to think the method as well. How are you going to solve this problem? Whether are you going to have a device farm with these real devices, or are you going to use these emulators on your Google Chrome browser? If you want to change the screen resolution, okay. If you go to your developer tools, from there you can change the view. So there will be some different devices. So yeah, let me show you. So here, if you go to inspect, I will get it to below. Here you can see the toggle device toolbar, or else using Control Shift M you can change that view. Okay, now here you can see different devices. Then manually you can change the screen resolution size. Then the zooming. Then if you want to have throttling, these are the different network speed: offline, low end, mid tier, no throttling likewise, and also you can rotate. So those things, some high level testing you can do using your Chrome browser as well for some of the mostly used or mostly available recent devices, on devices with different screen resolutions and on different network speeds. But this is not enough. That's why you need to think about whether you will go with real device farm or simulate emulators. So yeah, so in that case, these are the available options. Either you can go with real device farm. So in that case, you need to keep in mind about the issues or drawbacks which I mentioned. But again, when you talk about the advantages, you can actually check on a real physical device. So customers are not going to use the simulators, they will use the actual devices. So in that case, you can test it on your actual hardware with actual sensors and everything, because the simulators will have the simulated environment, not the physical device or not the actual sensors, everything. So those are the drawbacks in those scenarios. But using simulators, it is cost effective. There is no maintenance cost, only the license you need to buy for the particular tool likewise. So in that case, uh, it is very cost effective and easy to manage. And also there are some cloud based solutions as well. So those are like kind of the methods. So how you do the testing, on which device you do the testing on that perspective. Other than that, there is another categorization on how you perform your testing, whether it is manual or automation. So I already discussed. I mentioned that it is always a good choice or a good candidate for the automation. So for example, in device farm, if we had to do a manual testing, you need to go to each device and perform the same test cases one by one. So just imagine time taken to run all these test cases on all these devices. But if you have automated, then you just need to run the automation test case. Then if these things are linked and if these things are managed correctly, so then you can easily run the same test case at the same time on all these devices in your device. So that will save your time. So that is a major aspect you need to think of how you perform, whether it's manual testing or it is automation testing. So that is the categorization of compatibility testing based on different methods. And other than that, there's based on the technique you follow, there is another categorization called backward compatibility testing and the forward compatibility testing. Backward compatibility testing means like you will start with the latest versions and then you will go and check whether this particular application will work on the old version. So example, you will start with iPhone 16 and if it is working fine there, then you will think of the old versions like iPhone 14, 15, iPhone 14. Likewise, you will go back because we will think like our customers always will use the latest versions of operating systems or the browsers or devices. Then we need to make sure that this new application, our application will work on all these latest devices. And then we think there is a small number of people who will use the older versions as well, older versions of operating systems, older versions of browsers. But when comparing with the latest version, we think, okay, latest version is like using 70%, 30% people will use all the other older versions. So then we do the backward compatibility testing by going backward one by one. So based on time, based on the available time, we can think how many backward versions we will test. Because since we have tested on the latest version, now we know that it will work on the latest version. Then based on time, we can think how many backward versions we will check for the compatibility. So the forward compatibility means the vice versa. We will start with the older with an older version, maybe the existing version at that time. So then from there we will go forward. We will start with, let's say, when our application was released at that time, iPhone 13 was there. Let's say, so we will start our testing. So our base version is iPhone 13. Then we will go forward. After that, we will check on iPhone 14, iPhone 15, because now recently iPhone 16 was released. So we think like, okay, since iPhone 16 was released recently, we have some time till people will get and start using those new devices. Maybe at that time we can do compatibility testing for that. Based on our time, we can think how many forward versions we will test. So likewise, there are two techniques. Either you can do a backward compatibility testing or else you can do a forward compatibility testing. It doesn't matter what technique you will use. All these methods will be same. Whether the manual, automation, real or emulator, simulator, those things will not change based on the technique you use. Okay, then now keeping all these things in mind, now let's go and check about our definition before I forget to show this. So the Wikipedia definition says compatibility testing is a part of non-functional testing. Okay, we know that it is correct. Which will be conducted on application software to ensure the application's compatibility with different computing environments. Okay, so it's a basic definition. Yeah, we know it's a non-functional testing, and also we know it conducted on the application software. Okay, it's correct also. And the purpose of compatibility testing is to check the compatibility of our application with different computing environments. So this different computing environment means the different combination of operating systems, browsers, devices, network, likewise, which we discussed. So I hope now this definition will make sense to you guys since we have discussed all these things. Okay, now since we have discussed the definition as well, okay, now I have come to the last slide of today's presentation. So here I mentioned about using the simulators and some cloud-based tool. So these are some available, mostly used tools in today's market. browser stack, lambdatest, browser link, and expiry test. So these other than that, there are some other tools as well. So again, I think I discussed this thing on in a foundation playlist as well. What are the things like you need to think when you are going to purchase a tool? Because none of these tools are for free. These are licensed tools. So you need to have a clear idea about whether you will go for a tool or not. So that is the first question you need to discuss with your team. If you are if the team and management is okay to go with a tool, then you need to decide which tool you will select, because there are a lot of tools available in the market. Different tools will come with different features. So those things you need to think about, and also the learning curve you need to think. If there are people who have already used these tools, then it will be easy, or else then you need to think about the learning curve. If you already have something in your place, then how will be the migration? You need to think about that. Then the integration with the other applications, if you are using TestRail and Jira, let's say, then how you can link this. If you can simply integrate your TestRail with your browser stack or lambdatest, then you can simply run your test cases. And then if you are linking this with Jira, then you can simply report the bug as well. So those integrations also you need to think with your existing or existing using softwares. Then also you need to think about the license, yeah, definitely about the cost as well. Then you need to think about the customer support from their end, whether they are very responsive or how they will attend your issues, whether they will come and help you if you face any technical issues, whether they will provide any tutorials or whether they will provide any trainings. Likewise, those things also you need to think. Then yeah, those are the things which you need to keep in mind and think before selecting the particular tool. So after that also, without go and directly buy, maybe you can get a free license for a limited period, and then you can do a POC and then you can test the tool. So most of these tools, most of the time, will provide a limited free tool with some limited features, and also you can talk with them, the customer support team, and then you can get a license for a limited period, and then you can do a POC. While doing the POC, you can think about all these aspects, and then if you do a POC for two tools, for example, if you do browser stack and lambda test, then you can compare the available features, then the accuracy as well, those things, and for the compatibility testing, you can think like what are the available devices. Whether iPhone 16 is now available on browser stack or lambda test, likewise. So those are the things you need to pay attention to. So it's always good to do a POC, and then after that, again think about the aspects which I mentioned about the course, the licensing, all those things. Then your team can decide which tool you guys will go with, and after that you can start your compatibility testing journey. So I hope things which we discussed today are clear to you guys. Now I hope you have an idea about compatibility testing. Now I hope you will not skip compatibility testing in your next test plan, and there will be some space in your next test plan for compatibility testing as well. So from next week I will select one of these tools and we'll start doing some videos of these tools. But I hope you will be able to get some, at least some free license from these tools for at least for a couple of weeks or months, so then you can practice. But unfortunately, since these tools are licensed tools, there will be a problem for you guys to get some hands-on experience with these tools. However, yeah, let's see. I will also try to find some information about this free licensing and those stuff. So yeah, see you next week, and thanks for watching my videos. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate. You can ask at any time, either at qvbro.pro@gmail.com or in the comment section. So stay tuned till next week. We can start our journey on compatibility testing on lambda test from next week. See you.